In this video, let's have a look at sum number 18 from the accounts for incomplete records. This sum is about Mary, who does not keep her books under double entry system. From the following details, prepare trading and profit and loss account for the year ending 31st March 2019 and a balance sheet as on date. So they have given us the cash book. So from the cash book, we can take the following details which is required for that particular accounts. But the main thing over here in the other information, we can see that in sundry debtors, we have a big question mark. So that is closing sundry debtors has to be found. Other than that, all the informations are being given to us. In the additional information, they've given us the credit purchase, credit sales, opening capital which is required to do the trading and the balance sheet. So we have to start the sum with finding the closing sundry debtors. The account in which we can find the closing sundry debtors is the total debtors account. Let's start with the total debtors account to find the closing debtor balance. So since it's a debtors account, we start with the debit side, which will show the opening balance. So first let's start with to balance brought down. This is the opening debtor balance which can be taken from the other information which is given. So that is 1,30,000. Next item other than this is going to be the credit sales, which is the answer in the other sums, but in this sum it's going to be the closing debtors which is going to be the answer. Therefore credit sales is already given in the sum in the additional information. So credit sales is 2,90,000. Next, moving on to the credit side of the total debtors account. On the credit side, it is cash received from debtors. So this can be taken from the cash book. So in the cash book, on the debit side, we have two debtors. So this is going to be the cash received. So that is 3,40,000. So next, we do not have any other item other than recording a closing balance, that is balance carried down, which is the balancing figure for this particular sum. So obviously, since the balancing figure or the answer is going to be on the credit side, we take the debit side total as a grand total. So I've written down the balance, that is a grand total 4,20,000 and 4,20,000 in both the debit and the credit side of the total debtors account. So still on the credit side, we have to subtract 4,20,000 and 3,40,000 to get the closing balance of debtors. That is going to be rupees 80,000. Next, let's start with the trading and profit and loss account for the year ending 31st March 2019. So on the debit side and on the credit side, particulars rupees has been written. So first, let's go to the debit side and start with the first item, that is our to opening stock. So this detail can be taken out from the other information given in the problem. Stock of goods. Now opening stock is coming under the column 1/4/2018. So that is 1,10,000. Next in line is the purchases. So here in this particular sum, we have cash purchases from the cash book and credit purchases from the additional information. So I'm going to give the heading as to purchases and give the details as cash and credit beneath it. So my cash purchases from the cash book, credit side by purchases, they've given as 1,50,000. So I'll write it in the inner column so that I can add it up and write the gross amount in the outer column. Next, in the additional information, they've given me credit purchases as 1,80,000. So when I add this up and write it in the outer column, it is 3,30,000. These are the purchases. We are going to move to the credit side of the trading account, and in the trading account credit side, the first item is going to be sales. Now sales also, we have two divisions, that is cash sales, which can be taken from the cash book, and credit sales, which is given in the additional information. So cash sales, debit side of the cash book in the problem is given two sales, 3,60,000. So record the 3,60,000 as cash sales. Likewise, from the additional information, credit sales is 2,90,000. So if we add it, we'll get 6,50,000 as our total sales. That is the gross value of sales. After sales, the last item which we are going to record is closing stock. So closing stock is the only item which has been recorded in two places, trading and balance sheet asset side. So closing stock is given on the column 31/3/2019 in the other information stock of goods. So that is 1,80,000. So next, wages from the cash book is 70,000, which is recorded on the debit side. So now all the items have been recorded. So next we are going to get the total of both the sides. So on my credit side, I get 8,30,000 as my total, and on the debit side, I get 5,10,000. So the side which is less is the debit side. So here it's going to be the gross profit. So to gross profit. And the side which is has the greatest total is the credit side, which is 8,30,000. So 8,30,000 is going to be written as the grand total on both the sides of the debit and on the credit. Now to get the gross profit, subtract 8,30,000 from 5,10,000. You will get 3,20,000 as the gross profit. So now this gross profit has to be transferred from the debit side to the credit side. So I move to the credit side. Now this is going to be the from the trading account. We are continuing into the profit and loss account. So that's going to be by gross profit. So we entered into the profit and loss account. That is 3,20,000 gross profit has been brought down from the trading to the profit and loss. Now we have to enter the items relating to the profit and loss account. So when you look into the cash book, we have certain items which are recorded in the profit and loss account. So those items are sundry expenses, which is to be debited in the profit and loss account. So the first item I'm going to write from the cash book given in the problem is sundry expenses. So sundry expenses is 1,27,000. Next in line we have depreciation, which is the last line of the problem. In the additional information they said depreciate furniture and fittings by 10%. So to depreciation furniture and fittings. So first see how much is furniture and fittings from the other information, that is 80,000. So 80,000 into 10 by 100. So 10%. So when you calculate 10%, it's going to be 8,000 rupees as the depreciation recorded in the debit side of the profit and loss account. Now apart from this, we do not have any other item relating to the profit and loss account. Therefore, we are going to get the total. So if you take the debit side, it is 1,35,000, and on the credit side we have only 3,20,000. So 3,20,000 is clearly the largest number. So I'm going to record this 3,20,000 on the credit side of my profit and loss account as a grand total. So I'm going to write it on the credit and as a debit side total also, which is the greatest total. Now 3,20,000 minus the total of the debit side is 1,35,000. So if I subtract it, it's going to be my net profit. So to net profit. When the answer falls on the debit side of the profit and loss account, it is net profit. So 3,20,000 minus 1,35,000 is 1,85,000 of net profit. So this net profit has to be added along with the capital in the balance sheet. So now next move on to the balance sheet. Now the balance sheet as on 31/3/2019 is ready with the liabilities and the asset side. So first let's start with the liabilities side. The first item to be recorded on the liability is always going to be the capital. So the capital value can be taken from the additional information given there. Opening capital 2,80,000. So write it in the inner column. Next is you must add the net profit if any. So we have a net profit. So we're going to add the net profit from the profit and loss account. So 1,85,000 is the net profit in the profit and loss account. So we are going to add it along with the capital. So if we add it, we'll get 4,65,000. Now we do not have any drawings, but for format's sake, I write it and I'm going to push the account out. So the gross value is 4,65,000. Next, last in the liability side is the creditors, which is given. So from the other information, we can take the value of the creditors. So creditors closing balance is 90,000. So with this, the liability side is complete. Now let's move on to the asset side. So in the asset side, we have certain adjustments also to be done. So let's start with the adjustment part. So depreciate furniture and fittings. You would have remembered doing it in the profit and loss account. So first I will record furniture and fittings from the other information given. So furniture and fittings from the other information is 80,000. Now I'm going to less the depreciation of 10%. So depreciate at 10%, which we found out in the profit and loss account, is 8,000. So when you subtract it, you will get 72,000 in the outer column. So the depreciation adjustment is over. Now next we have to go through the other information and record the asset items given over there. So in the other information we have next is the sundry debtors. So debtors, the closing information regarding debtors is the one which we found by creating a total debtors account. So that is 80,000. So this 80,000 is taken from the total debtors account. Next is the stock of goods, that is the closing stock. So closing stock is rupees 1,80,000. This is also recorded in the trading account also. Lastly, we are going to record the cash because they have given you a cash book. So the closing balance of cash, that is buy balance carried on the credit side, 2,23,000 is to be recorded here. Apart from this, we do not have any other item relating to the assets. So next we have to tally both the liability side and the asset side. That is, both the liabilities and the asset side must get the same total. So on the asset side, I get 5,55,000, and on the liability side also, I get 5,55,000. So both my asset is equals to liability.